Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and INEOS are destroying Ruben Amorim. Another day, another bloody interview. It's incredible just how many interviews this guy is doing at Manchester United. We'll also be talking about Amorim defending his players, and this is the issue with the amount of interviews he does. There ends up being contradiction. There's only so much you can talk about. I mean, I know they've got rid of the food at the canteen, but they must be feeding Amorim microphones, because that's all he does, sound bites. We're also going to be talking at the protests. Big day in relation to that. Man United linked to another young player from Portugal as well. We'll talk about that, and obviously we'll react to all your comments too. But again, another interview from Ruben Amorim. And at this point, you've got to say he conducts more interviews than a bloody Joe Rogan podcast. It's incredible. I mean, I know we're playing Arsenal, but he must do more interviews than Pep, Slot and Arteta combined. And you know who needs calling out for this? And everybody laughs about it. And everyone jokes about how many interviews he does. But reality is, who is doing it and why are they doing it? This is a guy who is telling us he needs time, he needs players, it's going to take time, he needs players, it's going to take time. And then we eat into that time, getting him to do interviews. When have we had an interview from Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the last 6 months? When have we had an interview from Omar Barada? When have we had an interview from Jason Wilcox, David Brailsford? When have we had an interview from any of them lot? It's Amorim. So the guy that's going to take the shit, the guy that's going to lose his job, the guy that's going to get all the pressure, is also the guy that we pile more pressure onto. And it's the same with Ten Hag last year. There are protests today, there is anger, there is frustration, but everywhere you look, canteens, manager, tactics, transfers, it all goes back to the decision makers, and that is what people are protesting about today. It's bloody incredible how many sound bites we get from Ruben Amorim, and we get so many that the good points now get diluted with contradiction because he keeps being asked the same sort of questions. I mean, he's talking about scars now and how deep they are and how it's not the player's fault, which we'll talk about in a moment. But seriously, what is this football club playing at? How can you be trying to build something for the future and then every bloody day you're getting your manager to do interviews? I mean, it's tiring. It's very tiring. He's trying to rebuild a team. He's trying to get results, and then every day you're probably doing 2 or 3 interviews. Can you do this? Can you do that? No wonder the guy looks burnt out. Absolutely incredible. It doesn't get mentioned enough, actually. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous how badly run this football club is. I've mentioned this for so many years. Bayern Munich, Dortmund, they have CEOs, they have sporting directors regularly doing interviews. Manchester United just chuck the manager out every bloody day, multiple times a day, and wonder why they fail. Exposure. Media today is a bear pit. An absolute bear pit. You've got a question from that outlet, a question from that radio station, a question from that. They're looking at that question. They're looking to trip you up. They're looking for any... I mean, honestly, the least interviews you do as a Manchester United manager, the better. Because the less chance you're going to get tripped up. And it's always the same. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So, look, a little bit early today. My lad Seb's got a cup game, so that's why I'm not doing the 10 o'clock. I'm doing it at 9:30. But we've still got lots to get into. And obviously, if you're heading to Manchester today, or even if you're not, 1 goal together, Glazers out. That's all I'm interested in. Those 5 words. 1 goal together, Glazers out. Just keep that mantra in your head today. Because whether you're in Australia, Altrincham, or America, you can all play your part. The legends that are there, the 58 that have organised it, whatever happens because of that, 1 voice together, Glazers out. Get on the United Stand Twitter. We'll be retweeting. We'll be posting video clips. We'll be doing our part. Everybody can play their part. Smash a like on a video. Retweet a video. Retweet a clip. Post. Get involved. Watch along. The lot. Everything can make a difference today because the mainstream ain't going to help us. This has to be together, Manchester United fans. So very interested to see what's going to happen. Remember, if you are going to the game, 3 p.m, Tollgate Pub, that's where it's starting. down to Old Trafford. I mean, you're only going to be in a pub or a restaurant anyway. If you're actually going to the game, why not get involved? Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, big, massive shout out to what the 58 have done. And hopefully it will be the start of something. Some people are saying nothing will come of it. Well, nothing will come of it if people think like that. You know, maybe nothing will come of it, but at least people are trying. I'm from New Zealand. I say Chris Wood in June, says Kanye. Hi, Mark. Hope you're well. I will never stop loving this club, but we are a right mess, and it's so sad to see, says Man United fan for life. How's the family? Good, mate. Hope yours is well as well. James Campion, welcome to Members Club. Good morning, Mark. This makes me depressed. It's a shit show, says Connor. Look, I want to bring it back to that because Ruben Amorim, as part of yet another interview, spoke about the scars the players carry are so deep and so long that it's hard to change, and you've got all the media and all the background, and it's hard for these people to change when nothing is changing. So what he's basically saying is that the players are struggling because they carry scars. They're scarred by the past. These scars run deeply, and it's been going on for so long that it's hard for these players to change because they're scarred by the past, and then the present becomes the past, and they don't, it's hard for them to change. Yeah, not his best interview, honestly. And this is what I mean. It gets to a point where he's doing so many, I wouldn't back any of you, me, or anybody. I would find it impossible to do as many interviews as Amorim's doing and give you good sound bites. And maybe this is part of the plan. Maybe Man United know that the more interviews they give Amorim, the more he'll start talking shit. And because naturally, I'm not criticising Amorim. I 100% back him. But if you're doing an interview every single day, you're going to trip yourself up. You're not going to be able to prep. You're not going to be able to do anything about it. So I think that I don't agree with this point. Honestly, I think Amorim speaks sense on loads of things, and we're going to talk about what he said about the protests, and he's absolutely spot on. But, the bottom line is he needs new players. I saw a video the other day that got like 500,000 views saying why Amorim's system's not working. And I felt like going, well, it is. It is working. We didn't lose to Sociedad. We didn't lose to Everton. We beat Ipswich. We've only lost 3 games since January the 1st. Like, it's middle of March now. If we're so bad, why have we only lost 3 games? It's not working. It's just limited by the players that he's got. The system's absolutely fine. If the low could pass, we'd have beat Sociedad by 2 clear goals, and people would be saying that's not a bad result. This is about player profile. It's not about tactics. This is the problem. So when Amorim's talking about players being scarred by the past and it runs deep, and what he's basically talking about is weak mentality. Let's call it what it is. And maybe that's the message Amorim's giving in a nice way. And maybe it's not such a bad comment. Maybe it's an amazing comment. But I think the volume of sound bites that we get from Amorim, I find it tiring trying to figure out what he's saying, because every bloody hour there's a new statement, there's a new quote, and you sort of like go, okay, get me a cup of tea. Get me a cup of tea and give me 10 minutes alone. I've got to decipher this one. There's another one. It's like bloody playing Sudoku 10 times a day. What does he mean here? And maybe that's what he does mean. Maybe when he says the scars run deep, the players are affected by the past, and it's when it doesn't go well, those scars haven't healed and they're struggling and they need time. Maybe what he's actually saying is these players aren't good enough. They are damaged goods. And when he says time, what he really means is change. Maybe that's what he means. Because I don't for 1 minute think if you give me a player that's been here for a few years, that's been under, I don't know, maybe Ollie, maybe Ten Hag, and now Amorim, I don't think if you give me a player name from that era, that if they're scarred by the past, I don't sympathise. I don't. 100 grand a week, 150 grand a week, 200 grand a week, professional footballer at Manchester United. Everywhere you look, you're surrounded by history, success, adversity. And they're going, oh, I lost games under Ollie and Ten Hag, and now I'm losing games again. Oh, I need time to heal. You need time to get out. You're a bloody footballer, So I don't agree with time and time to heal. What I do agree with, and I don't think Amorim's talking about this, is that IQ, not there. if he's talking about Delo can't cross it to Rasmus because he's damaged by the past, come on. Basics, you learnt this when you were under 8. I'm pretty sure if Seb's on the wing today and he gets the opportunity to cross it to his striker and he can hear everyone saying cross it, he'll bloody cross it. So I don't agree with scars from the past. And I think what we've got here again is just another hint that it's going to take years and years to potentially be a better team. He needs new players. Look, Amorim needs new players. And you know what annoys me as well, and why INEOS are destroying Amorim by making him do these interviews. If we cut through the crap for a moment, Amorim does all these interviews, yeah? Occasionally we get good sound bites, but overarchingly, am I right when I say it's all PR? Does the manager actually sit there and say what the problem is? No. So most of these interviews are a waste of time because he never will say what the problem is. He's never going to sit there and go, this job's really difficult because the people who own the club are mercenaries, billionaires who are bleeding it dry and not interested in being successful on the pitch. And on top of that, the players I've inherited are shit and I need to replace them. So my job's really difficult. Any other questions? Yeah. So, actually, we have an increase in interviews, which ultimately is an increase in spin. And maybe that's why they're doing it. Because no manager, whether it's Jose Mourinho, Eric Ten Hag or anybody else, is ever going to sit there in an interview before an Arsenal game and go, you know what, I agree with the protests. The club's been shit for 10 years. It's been running to the ground for 20 years. The fans thought they were getting rid of the biggest problem. And then Sir Jim comes in and rescues them. They're absolute mercenaries. They're destroying the football club from the middle to the outside. Everybody's unhappy here. They're sacking loads of people. They're saying that there's no money. Every other club in the Premier League is better run than us. It's probably why we're failing. As for the players, well, they've bought a load of shit, basically, and they do not suit the way I want to play. So, realistically, shit owners, shit squad, ain't on me. Are they going to give me any money? And that's it. Don't need to do any more interviews, and that's what I mean. We get all these interviews and we never get the bloody truth anyway, do we? We don't. I think the most truth that we have, and this is for me the big thing, is that when he was asked about the protests, and look, I don't think Man United are going to have a massive problem with what Amorim said, but when he was asked about the protests, Amorim said, people have the right to protest. I think it's a good thing to do that. It's part of our club. Everybody has a voice. That's from the manager. And I stand by the manager. I don't think he's responsible for anything that's going wrong at this football club, if I'm being honest. Some might say a little bit. I don't think anything. But people have the right to protest. I think it's a good thing. It's part of our club. Everybody has a voice. And I will tell you for free, Ruben Amorim would never say this publicly, but if I or you sat with Ruben Amorim and said, look, Ruben, I know for a fact there is a billionaire that wants to buy this football club. His first action will be to clear the debt, and his second action will be to work with you to make Man United brilliant on the pitch as quick as possible. In the background, he is going to build a stadium because he's got the money to do it, but his obsession will be to clear the debt, get more money into the club, and help you build a team. Do you want that, or do you want this? Amorim's going to take that. You won't get Sky or TNT or TalkSport or anyone else talking about that because, I don't want to say that, it's a little bit too close to the bone, but come on. Let's be bloody obvious, yeah. If you said to Amorim, do you want a billionaire to come in, clear the debt and back you to the hilt, or do you want this? He's going to go, I want that. Of course I do. It can't be asked. He can't answer that question. He's under contract and it won't be asked, but we all know it. I think sometimes life, football, so simple, and we get so lost in propaganda and spin and bullshit. Amorim backs INEOS. Amorim doesn't back INEOS. Amorim doesn't back the Glazers. He probably didn't even know who they bloody were last summer. Amorim took the Man United job because it's Manchester United, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, and it's a massive opportunity. And all he wants to do is be successful. And if you gave him a pathway to that, and he had the power to choose it, he would take it. The loyalty to INEOS and the Glazers is because they pay his wages and they can sack him. He would take what we would take in a heartbeat because he knows that's the pathway to success. The pathway to success is investment, ASAP, in the playing side to make us successful on the pitch. What he's got is business people, bean counters, predicting something for the future that God knows what it is. I mean, I saw an interview the other day with, I think it's Sir Bradley Wiggins, but if not, Bradley Wiggins. Won a few gold medals cycling, knows Sir David Brailsford, and he was basically saying Operation 21, more like Operation Championship. And he was saying, look, I worked with Sir David Brailsford. I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but I always felt that his fine margins and sleeping with a certain pillow will help you win a race was just nonsense, really. That, you know, basically talented people who eat the right foods and sleep right will do better. But it ain't rocket science. It's like, it was basically saying it was almost like a myth around Sir David Brailsford that he had some sort of magic potion about you're really rubbish, but I can make you brilliant. He couldn't. It's just logical. Like talented people doing the right things. Like if you look at somebody like Ravel Morrison, who failed, but was one of the best young players we had coming through in the last 20 years. If Ravel Morrison had gone to bed at the right time and trained hard, he'd be a better footballer than he is now. It's not rocket science, is it? Mentality. So look, I think we've got a lot of bullshit around our football club, a lot of smoke and mirrors, and that's what today is all about. It's cutting through the bullshit. I think that there are Man United fans out there that if at 5 o'clock today, the Glazers and INEOS said, we'd love a meeting with you tomorrow, they'd rub their hands and go, yeah, we're finally in. But it's not about, you know, you look at the, if I'm being completely honest, Manchester United Supporters Trust and all the Man United Supporters Associations, are they going to back protests? I don't know. You hear stories about some of them are a bit uncomfortable because they get concessions. Man United Supporters Trust, Man United, they'll have them in Ireland, they'll have them in Scotland, they'll have them in London, they'll have them in Australia. They get tickets through the club. And if you sort of like start tweeting off your account to support the protest, you might not get your tickets. So there are a lot of people that are the club sort of have. I mean, you look at the Red Army; they're backing the protests, brilliant. But they have things that the club have given them to them as well. But they're sort of like, up yours, we're behind the protests. So I think that when you look at today, I think that there are always going to be different approaches to things. Some people really want to see the game called off. Some people want to see the world burn. Some people want to just get around a table with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Some people want Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers floating on a table back to Monaco or wherever, that, you know, get rid of them. I've got no interest in this game today. Absolutely got no interest. I am interested in Thursday. I'm not going to be a liar and say I've got no interest in games anymore. I am interested in Thursday. I've got no interest in today. As I said, I might be in a minority. If somebody said, all you've got to do is type yes into the live chat and the game get called off, there you go. Yes, I am. Because I say yes. Because for one, the players will get a rest, and for two, it will do the. You know, if you want something, and you know if your enemy has a weakness, are you going to go for that weak? You know the end of the end of Star Wars, when Luke Skywalker's flying through that tunnel thing. And he's being told he's got to make a perfect shot into the hole and then it will blow up the Death Star. Does he shoot at something else? Or does he shoot at the hole? And I know, and you know, that the way to the Glazers... Well, look, they exposed themselves. The only time Joel Glazer has gone, let's get round a table and talk to the fans, was when the Liverpool game got called off. They've exposed themselves. They absolutely shit themselves when that Liverpool game got called off. Shit themselves. And the media called Man United fan hooligans, but Joel Glazer said, let's have a Zoom meeting. Let's have a Zoom meeting. So, I'm not going to lie. I want their ownership to be as difficult as it is to support Manchester United. I think we are so inflicted by pain, mental torture, mental health. I've said this before, and mental health's really serious, but God, you cannot be emotionally invested in a football club like most of you are and then not be mentally impacted by the constant negativity that is fed out by those owners. Football is life and it impacts it. And I think that when I look at the Glazers and the money they've made out of this football club, do I think that they go through the mental torture that we go through over the last 10 years especially? No, I don't. I think they sit there in America, smiling away, with billions in the bank, thinking about a few more billion. And the scary thing is about the Glazers is they'll be looking at 2035 and going, in 2035, we'll be a lot richer out of this club as well. When we built the stadium and we built the infrastructure, we'll be coining it in. And I don't think people realise that as well. At the moment, they can't take dividends out, but they have done for many years. It's only for the last 4 or 5 that they've not took dividends out. It's a bit like having a pension fund. Mr. Smith, your pension has been paying out good dividends for the last few years, but at the moment, it's a bit tight, and we can't. You're not earning any interest on it, but your money's still there. You've still got your money there, but it's not earning interest. But we project in 3 or 4 years' time, you'll start earning really good interest for the next decade. And I think that's what the Glazers are doing. They're looking at Man United, the assets there. They've had 1.2 billion. And in about 5 years, they know they're going to start earning big money out of it for years and years and years. You've got to be financially minded to understand this, but they are billionaires. In 5 years, or whenever the stadium gets built, they probably know they'll be able to take dividends out of 20 million a year for the rest of their lives, because the club's going to make so much money. You've got Pratts out there that go, when the club's making all this money out of the new stadium and the regeneration, that'll all be going into transfers. It won't. They'll still be going into the pockets for the Glazers. And I think that's what they're looking at. They're looking at it and going, all right, at the moment it's a bumpy ride, but in the future we're still going to make loads of money because the club's going to be worth more. The time is now. If you tolerate this, then your children will be next. And as I said, they deserve to have the pain and stress that we as United fans have on a regular basis, but they don't get it. Morning, Mark. At what point does drastic measures need to take place to force the Glazers out? This is a straight asset stripping, says Michael Hayward. Worrying statement from Amorim that he won't have time as Arteta had at Arsenal. Is he being already pressured by the useless owners, says Sanil. I think that Amorim quite clearly knows what we know. In football, there is no such thing as a long-term project. There just isn't. Leicester can go from relegation to winning the league. Nottingham Forest can go from relegation to 3rd in the league. Arsenal can go from 8th to title contenders. Football is fast-moving. It's about the next game. What we have is owners that are going, it's not about the next game. It's not even about the next season. It's about 4 or 5 years' time. No football club runs like that. The only football club that runs like that is someone like Wrexham, who started in the National League and want to be in the Premier League in 5 years. But that's 4 or 5 promotions. We're already in the Premier League, and we're going, we might try and win it in the next 5 to 10 years. It's just a crap way to run a football club. But the positive is, fans won't turn up. They'll find it hard to fill the ground when United are playing Fulham at home and we're mid-table and we're out of all the cups. People will just go, fuck that. I don't just turn up to Old Trafford just because it's Old Trafford. I want to be entertained, and they're killing that entertainment. I mean, look at the game today. Forget, the protests are the big thing, and that's the headlines, and we want it to be the headlines. But the game itself is flat. It's flatter than a pancake. It's a flat, dead game. The ownership obviously see the Amorim as somewhat popular. He's sent for interviews for PR and know the fans won't burn him. Barada would be pushed on subjects they don't want fully addressed. Barada's a waste of space, mate. I got told by some Man City fans a few months ago, actually, that they were. I always thought, was it a little bit bitter, but Man City fans were. He doesn't give a shit about the fans. He doesn't give a shit about the fans. He's just a business guy, Barada. And honestly, whether they were doing it because they were bitter or not, they're right. Barada as a CEO, I think, is a waste of time. He's just a business guy. He is the CEO of the football club, and he's worse than Richard Arnold. I mean, Richard Arnold wasn't great. I'm not saying Richard Arnold was good, but Richard Arnold I mean, at least he sat with the fans in that pub that time and had a chat. You know, he spoke about how protests damage the football club and the reputation. I mean, all right, the Man United fans who sort of forced him into his local pub to have an interview did a great job, but Richard Arnold, to be fair, answered questions in a human way. Can you imagine Barada in a local pub talking to Man United fans about, you know, how protests damage the football club? I think his reign has been absolutely shit as a CEO, if I'm being honest with you. I think he's a crap CEO. CEOs should be communicating with fans in a way where fans feel a connection. He's just a bloody Glazer yes man. And people forget this as well. People who work for the Glazers are Glazer yes men. They're not Man United people. Would you go and work for the Glazers? I don't, if they gave you 250 grand a year, would you go and work for the Glazers? I wouldn't fucking work for the Glazers. I'd rather be a Glazer. I'd rather put windows in for minimum wage. I won't work for the bloody Glazers. Says on my CV, I work for the Glazers. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you are. And you can't be a Man United fan. No Man United fan's going to want to work for them. Disgusting. Disgusting. They're all as bad as each other. But the CEO should be doing interviews, you're right. Not Amorim. The CEO should do the interviews, but he doesn't do the interviews because he'd shit himself. Because he's just another pawn in the game of chess that is the Glazers. Mercenary, rich, life suckers. I'm from New Zealand. I've done that one from Kanye as well. Appreciate that. So yes, I just to give us something a little bit extra as well. But there's a lot of comments coming in. I'll say it again. I think it's absolutely disgusting how many interviews that Ruben Amorim does. I think it's pure PR. I think it's pure spin. And the reality is, it doesn't matter whether you're Tom Brady in his prime, whether you're Cristiano Ronaldo in your prime, or you're Whitney Houston in your prime. Rest in peace. She's actually the only one who's actually dead, but she was a great singer. And the point is, if you get any of those people, Ronaldo, Tom Brady, or Whitney Houston, to perform 5 times a day, they're going to get tired. They're going to underperform because they're going to get overworked. You think about the best singer, the best band, the best dancer in the world. You ask them to do something twice a week, you will get elite performance. You ask them to do it twice a day, they will get tired. And this is what they're doing to Amorim. I know it's only interviews, but it needs calling out by the fans. They are destroying this manager by throwing him out all the bloody time to the Lions. Another interview, Ruben. I was just actually trying to work out, can I not do this interview with Sky? Because I was actually just sitting in a room with Delo trying to get him to cross. And I've been here for 3 hours, and although it's slow progress, I've nearly got him to do one. No, leave that for another week. You've got to do an interview with Talkshit. But people laugh, but it's true. Like, we've got players that can't do the basics, and we've got a manager doing more interviews than Joe Rogan. It's incredible to me. It's incredible how mercenary this football club is and how badly run it is. If that was my football club, if I was a CEO, I would be saying, we're doing less interviews. He's just not doing, he's doing the bare minimum of interviews. I cannot have him doing interviews. If we've got obligations to do interviews, I'll give you a player, I'll give you an assistant coach, I'll do it. He's not doing these interviews because look at the way the team's performing. We've got a brand new system and we've got players that can't do the basics. He needs to be working with the players. We can't get him to do the interviews. And yet, every bloody day, it's a big thing. But, you know, we joke about it. He's doing more interviews than Alan Sugar. He should work in HR. He's interviewing more people than a HR manager. But it's true. It's so bloody true. How can you do your job? I mean, I remember. I mean, it's a boring story, but I remember working in banking for about a year before I started doing this full time, and I got so fed up with it because every day I'd be in about 8 meetings, and I'd get to do my job for about an hour out of an 8-hour day, and I just got to the point where I said, I can't do my job because I'm always in bloody meetings talking about doing the job. And that's all an interview is. An interview is Amorim talking about time or tactics or players, talking about the job instead of doing the fucking job. But this is Man United, isn't it? It's just a bloody PR machine. And Patrick is right. What's the one thing that's pure at Man United? What's the one thing that's not really, or less damaged goods than everybody else? The manager. Barada's damaged goods. Sir Jim, Bruno, players, they're all damaged goods for different reasons, but Amorim's pure. Get him in, get him up, get him up. Get him in a hoodie as well. Put him in a hoodie to sell some hoodies and get him up for interviews. I wonder if we'll see Ratcliffe at the game today, says Ryan. We don't see much of him anyway, do we, mate? I mean, he's just a British Glazer, I think. He's just a Glazer with a British passport. I mean, and people might say that's unfair, but he saved the Glazers. He acts like the Glazers. I mean, I'm stunned, really, by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I thought that his plan would be a lot different. Morning, Mark. At what point does the drastic measures... Done that one from Michael. Right, just to finish off with a bit of news. And look, you know, some people really crave these sort of things. It's news. I'll give it you. Manchester United are interested in Roger Fernandez from Braga. He's a 19-year-old who they value at 34 million. He's been scouted extensively by Manchester United. This is coming from Team Talk. Left-footed winger who can play on the left and the right-hand side. I suppose it's interesting in a sense that Braga, former club of Amorim, Portugal, where Amorim's from. But look, where's the £34 million coming from for a 19-year-old? And also, he could be the next Salah. He could be the next Anthony Gordon. I don't know. But as Thuto said, it's another kid. And this ain't going to work. I'm sorry, this is just not going to work. This is a recipe for disaster. Buying kids and putting them in a Man United shirt is a recipe for disaster. I know it, you know it. This media, this fan base, this pressure is not going to change just because you buy a load of kids. And they can't deal with that pressure. It's impossible. When Alan Hansen said in '96 you can't win anything with kids, it's become football folklore. He was actually right. He was actually right. We never would have won the double that year with Gary Neville, Phil Neville, David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs and Nicky Butt. We would not have won the league with them. We did win the league with them, but it was supplemented and nurtured by Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel, Eric Cantona, Dennis Irwin, Steve Bruce. You can't win with kids. They will sink and drown. You need experience. And I don't see enough experience in that team. And it seems to me at the moment that the big plan is to buy as many talented kids as you can, and then in 4 or 5 years, they'll grow and become good players. But it's like buying a young racehorse that's got the potential to be one of the best racehorses in the world. And you buy the racehorse, but you feed it on Cocoa Pops and Toffee Crisps. You don't give it the right food. You know, you don't give it the right environment, and it doesn't become that racehorse. And that's my concern about United. We can buy all these talented players, and they're really talented, but is the environment going to be right for them to grow when they haven't got the right environment there? And again, KD says we destroy kids. We don't just destroy kids, we destroy everybody. Onana was a ball-playing goalkeeper. Casemiro was an amazing holding midfielder. Now, maybe that's an age thing. Every player we bring in dies in some way, shape or another in relation to form. When was the last young player that we actually developed as well? I mean, I think Rashford had the potential to be so much better than he became. But Martial, people are already writing off Garnacho and Mainu. I mean, we don't have an environment for this. So look, I think we will always be excited by buying a young, talented player. But it seems to be the only strategy INEOS have got. And when we get linked to experienced players, we're like, nah, we're not interested in that. I don't know. Anyway, I've got to get off. I've got a cup game for Seb. I will tell you the update on that later. We will be live, of course. Big day. As I said, the game is not even secondary to me. The game is an afterthought. We will have the watch along, but we've got countdown to kick off. We've got people on the ground, all sorts going on. If you are in Manchester, get yourself to the protest, 3 o'clock from the Tollgate pub. Who knows what's going to happen around Old Trafford and everything, but look, if you're not there, it's one voice together, Glazers out. You can play your part. You can watch the videos. You can share the videos. You can, be part of it. And what I would say is, one voice together, Glazers out. The media are going to be looking for opportunities to ridicule us like Simon Jordan did the other day. One voice together, Glazers out. It's our battle. Don't be distracted by anybody else. This is our club. Thanks everyone for watching. We want Glazers out. Hope the game is cancelled to Shawnock. Take care everyone. And kickoff is 4:30. So I think we're going to be live sort of like around 2:30. We'll have clips and everything like that. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Have a good day. And I'll speak to you all in a bit. Oh, just before I go, actually, for everybody else, I've just remembered, actually, I was meant to do this earlier. Player ratings. A few people have been moaning about this. Our player rating system is a lot better now because it doesn't get spammed with bloody other fans because they don't want to sign up for it. So sign up for player ratings. I know it's catching a few people out because they don't have time when the game's on. Scan the QR code, go through the link in the description or the live chat. Just drop an email, create a password. You'll get a confirmation email. Once you've had your confirmation email, click that and then you're in forever. You can do your player ratings. So take a minute to do it now and it will be set up forever. A few people have been saying, can you tell us before the show to do it? Because when the game's on, it's, you've got to go off to go back, etc. So scan the QR code, links in the description, and you'll be on player ratings for life. And they've been really good since we've been doing this because when it was just an open source thing, anybody could vote. Obviously, when you sign up for it, you're a member of the United Stand community, and the Liverpool fans and everyone else don't want to do that. They don't want to be getting the email. So check it out. Links in the description or scan the QR code, player ratings. But that's not for today. You only do it once. You're in. You've got your password. You're in. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.